You want to get it?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Midas Letter RAW! We're all raw up in here today. It's going to be a raw show. We're going to have raw people. We're going to talk about things raw. We're going to be raw. We're going to get raw. We're going to take off all of our clothes and gross you right out. No, I'm just kidding. Today's like a really interesting day because we're right here on the cusp of the PDAC, which is the world's largest mining conference. And so we've been scrutinizing the landscape of mining companies, explorers, drillers, geophysicists, geochemists, and even artificial intelligence purveyors. So if you are a subscriber to the idea that the commodities industry is on the cusp of a reversal due to the convergence of supply and demand forces around the world, then you're going to want to be watching our show this week, next week, as we drill down and try to find the best opportunities in mining exploration.
Excuse me here while I get a little more comfortable.
In Canada. Ed, how are you today?
You know, James, I've had better days.
Yeah, I hear you've got the sniffles.
I got the sniffles, yeah.
Does that mean you're going to be sick tomorrow?
I'll be sniffling. No.
Are you pre-calling in sick?
No. No.
That's good. Well,
I will come here and say nothing rather than...
Really?
Yeah.
You just sit there and sniffle and sneeze and...
Mum's the word.
Belch and fart and all that. There we go.
Did you say a Belgian fart?
A Belgian fart. That's what happens after you drink Belgian beer and eat Belgian fries.
Or belch and fart.
Oh, the humor on the show is just going so juvenile.
Under the category of scatology.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, let's see what's going on today. Well, at 3:05, predictably, as usual, Ricky News Nurse Gerwitz is going to be reading the news of the cannabis industry worldwide.
The news.
All the news. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I noticed today the marijuana stocks were catching a bid. I saw weed up $3, or Canopy Growth, I should say.
Yeah. And
the index was up nicely. The HMMJ, which you had that gentleman on recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
good action in the. Hey, listen? We were talking about MedMen when they came out with the results. Let's take a quick look to see how they did today. I forgot. I haven't done it. I have no idea. Results came out yesterday.
Well, before that, Edward, I'd like to let our lovely and talented audience know what else is coming up today. Who else is on the show today? You're wondering? André Larente is going to be here from Albert Mining. Albert Mining is not a mining company. Albert Mining is a...
artificial intelligence company.
Artificial intelligence
But it sounds like Albert Mining should be changing itself to Albert Artificial Intelligence.
Actually, I think what the company is going to be called next week is going to be AI Discoveries. 3:30 National Cannabis Survey. We're going to have a National Cannabis Survey at 3:30. That's interesting.
Since you jump around, I'm going to jump around. MedMen's down 7% today.
Who what?
MedMen's down 7%.
MedMen's down 7%. See, I told you that.
That was not...
Press release is bullshit. That's not good news. That's bad news. Why are you trying to pass it off as good news when it's bad news? Everybody can
When
tell
you say, why am I? I'm not passing it off.
No, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about them. They're the ones who put out the press release saying, oh, revenue's up and this is up and that's up. They forgot to mention that losses are way up.
Yeah, so they're making more revenue, but they're spending more money to get that revenue.
And they're losing more the more they make. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just the sign of the times.
That's certainly not the road to riches.
That is the road to ruin, one might argue.
Road to ruin, yeah.
Yes, well, 3:05 is come and gone, so it's 3:06. Ricky News Nurse Gerwitz is here to read the news, and here she is.
Thanks, James, and here are the headlines moving markets today. 1933 Industries Inc. announced that its Canna Hemp products have been introduced at Extreme Couture MMA, a world-class mixed martial arts gym and pro shop in Las Vegas. Canna Hemp is one of the first cannabis brands to focus on the action sports market within the wellness industry and has established itself as a leader in this space. With over 80 SKUs and new products introduced regularly, the Canna Hemp line of products includes Canna Hemp X, Canna Pause, and Canna Fused. Canopy Growth Corporation and Sequential Brands Group announced today that Martha Stewart has joined the company in an advisory role to assist with developing and positioning a broad new line of product offerings across multiple categories. Martha Stewart has been one of the most vocal advocates for animals, championing the health and wellness of pets and farms alike. With several clinical trials underway, Canopy Growth will be leaning on Martha's vast knowledge of consumer products while exploring the effectiveness of CBD and other cannabinoids as they relate to improving the lives of both humans and animals. Liberty Health Sciences Inc. announced today that it will be opening its latest dispensary in Orange Park, Florida on March 1st, 2019, pending Florida Department of Health approvals. In supporting the growth of its dispensary openings, the company also announced that the first phase of its construction at its Liberty 360 Innovation Campus in Gainesville, Florida, has been completed, including required inspections by the DOH, which provides the company with an additional 80,000 square feet of cultivation space. The company also announced that it is continuing its work towards increasing its directors and senior executives based in the United States to more closely align with the U.S. geographical focus of its business, as previously announced in its press release of February 12th and 22nd, 2019. Acreage Holdings Inc. announced the opening of 3 cannabis dispensaries in New York and Ohio. With these new dispensary openings, Acreage now owns or has management services agreements in place for 23 dispensaries that are currently open in 11 states. Planet 3 Holdings Inc. announced that it has begun construction on a coffee shop and bistro pizzeria as part of a Phase 2 expansion of the Superstore entertainment complex adjacent to the famed Las Vegas Strip. The company has served over 1,000 customers on average per day during the first 26 days of February at an average ticket of $89 US. The coffee shop and bistro pizzeria are dedicated to capturing revenue from non-cannabis consumers and to driving crossover revenue from cannabis customers, and is only the first of several planned expansions for the 112,000 square foot site. Weekend Unlimited announced several executive appointments to advance its team infrastructure, production, and development. Mr. S.A. Roberts was named as Director of Operations, and Mr. Clint Pyatt became Director of Revenue Generation. Canntab Therapeutics Ltd. announced that it has entered into a supply and loan agreement with FSD Pharma Inc. and World Class Extractions Inc. to purchase hemp flower from Thomas Elcombe. Pursuant to the agreement, the supplier grants the purchasers the right and option to purchase up to 5 million Canadian dollars of the supplier's hemp crop for a period of 5 years commencing in 2019 at a purchase price of 100 Canadian dollars per kilogram per 1% of CBD extracted from the flower. Radiant Technologies has released its financial results for the third fiscal quarter ending on December 31st, 2018. The company has a cash balance of 37.6 million Canadian dollars and working capital of $37.4 million as of December 31st, 2018. This reserve of cash will reportedly allow Radiant to execute on its previously announced physical and operational expansions in Edmonton and Germany. Radiant's current total debt is 10 million Canadian dollars, and the company was granted its standard processing license from Health Canada on February 1st, 2019. MedMen Enterprises Inc. reported a $64.6 million U.S. loss in its second quarter for the fiscal year 2019. The company increased revenue sequentially by 39% to $29.9 million and continued to perform favorably in California, with 8 retail locations reporting a combined $23.7 million in revenue, representing a 28% quarter-over-quarter increase. Canopy Rivers earned $1.42 million in Q3 as it released its financial results ending on December 31st, 2018. To date, the company has made investments in 14 companies and deployed more than $55 million of capital during the quarter, and in doing so has established a diversified portfolio that includes licensed companies, late-stage license applicants, international hemp cultivators, pharmaceutical formulators, brand developers and distributors, retail networks, technology and media platforms, health and wellness brands, and creators of adult-use cannabis ingestibles. And that's your news for today.
Okay. Lovely, Ricky. Lovely, Ricky. Yeah. So there's the news to end all news.
Yeah.
So I spoke today. I've been looking at these artificial intelligence mining things, but before we get
Goldspot was one of those too, right?
Yeah, Goldspot's one. So Goldspot caught my attention because they're out there suggesting that nobody's done this before and it's never been done. But back 10 years ago, I interviewed Diagnos. Diagnos has actually become Albert Mining, and they started doing this 10 years ago. They've actually made over 27 discoveries, like serious discoveries.
Why was this thing sitting down there so low, capped at $3 million?
Because the guys who were running it as a mining service business. So no matter what the discovery was, they only got like $200,000 for the contract. It was like a geophysics
There's been some
contract.
big changes in management there.
Where?
At AIIM.
Yeah, basically AIIM's
the former chairman's resigned.
Yeah, they're basically transforming the business model away from a service contract, cash for services model to a, tell you what, we'll do the diagnosis.
We'll find it.
Exactly.
Give us a cut.
We'll give you the drill holes. If you hit, we get, 10, 20, 30% of the deposit. Much better model.
Whoa, much better model.
Well, if you consider they've made 27 discoveries, 3 of them are deposits that are valued above $500 million, roughly, on average. $1.5 billion, 30%
All
of
metals are just...
$300 million they'd be worth right now. If all of this is true. Forward-looking statements, we don't know this for sure. This is what we're being told. But there's,
Not only is this what we're being told, this is what we're telling you.
Then, so we're, yes, exactly. We're amplifiers, and we are basically rebroadcasting old news. So, but the interesting thing is now there are 2 contenders in this space. There's Gold Spot, and there's Albert Mining,
which leads to ask the question: are there others?
Well, there aren't others that I've been able to find.
Okay.
So I did an analysis of both of these companies. At this point, Albert Mining is way far ahead in the proven category because they've made all these discoveries. Gold Spot, we're going to have Colin Cattell on here next week. He's going to fill us in on what they have discovered, what they're going to discover, and how they're going to do it. And we can.
And what's Colin Cattell's position on Albert? Not Albert.
Albert.
Gold Spot.
Gold Spot. I think he's the CEO, isn't he?
Is that right?
Yeah.
And he's with you. I thought he was with Palisades too.
Yeah. He's the principal of Palisades.
Okay, and he's. Well, no, because I interviewed the Gold Spot guy.
Yeah, he was the CEO. I think Colin's the president. Anyways,
okay.
Exactly what he does, I'm not sure, but he'll be here to talk about Gold Spot next week during the PDAC. Then I'm going to have edited theirs on Tuesday night. I wanted to talk a little about AMX, Ed.
All right.
And the reason I want to talk about AMX is it's selling off a bit. And again, I have a small position in the company. But I was researching it on Canadian Insider yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And it turns out that the CEO, the C-suite, has been buying the stock. In fact, they're in the top 10 of insider acquisitions for the whole day yesterday in the categories of net interest, C-suite buying, and overall market interest. So I'm looking at this price and thinking, is this where I should consider a re-entry or more accumulation?
You know what? Today's action, it's near the highs of the day.
Yes.
Which is $1.14, $1.15. Was as low as $1.
Yes.
So if you want to, the control room wants to put up this chart, I'll demonstrate. And no, they don't want to put up the chart. Oh, there it is. Well, look. Here we go. So there's a big tail there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? I think probably the bottom is somewhere around $1 to $1.05, and it's maybe tested it again. Because it's had an unbelievable run, but it's already at $1. It's corrected 50%. Yeah. So if you believe that this is a major discovery, and so far things are pointing that way. Yeah, probably, if you want to start a position here in this area, it's probably not a bad idea.
Right.
The insiders obviously think it's a good idea.
Okay. Andrew Larente was here just a second ago, and I interviewed him, and so I wanted to just throw this conversation at you that we just had.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Albert Larente joins me now. He's a director of Albert Mining Exploration and Services, trading on the TSX venture under the symbol AIIM. André, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, James.
André, Albert Mining used to be known as Diagnos, and I know this because I interviewed Diagnos, I think, almost a decade ago. And so whereas I am quite familiar with the business model of Albert, formerly known as Diagnos, why don't you give us an overview of the business model of Albert Mining Exploration and Services?
Today. So we started in 2005 working on our technology platform, and we started really early, probably end of 2005 with customers and all that. And our business model was to really give a service contract to a customer. They would give us their data, we analyze the data, we'd give them back the targets. We started like that, and we created, we probably had about 60, 70 customers based on that that business model. What we saw later on is that that business model, as the evolution from 2005 to 2018, the business had changed. We had the crash that lasted way too long, and now we can see it's coming back. So the business model has to be changed to a more proper environment today, where we will actually now analyze data in a certain territory or region or country and look at the targets and see and identify which companies do the targets land onto, and then actually approach them in a different type of deal where we can actually have royalties, we can have shares, options, and also some cash.
Sure. Okay, so you've previously done this as a service, and how many discoveries has this technology actually successfully made?
Well, we've documented 27 discoveries.
Since 2005?
Since 2005. We discovered kimberlites, gold, copper, silver, and nickel.
So this is proven technology.
It's been proven.
So it sounds you're using artificial intelligence to examine legacy data sets derived from previous explorations to you improve the chances of discovery. I guess that causes exploration budgets to be a lot more efficient as well.
Yes, we can actually reduce the territory size by 95% by using our tool, because we'll actually focus on where the targets are located. On top of that, the technology that we've built actually really eliminates a lot of noise by using existing drill holes from the past. So the past historical data that everybody says is very important, we actually use that as our basis to move on to the new targets. Without those targets that have been drilled in the past, well, you can't really find new ones.
Okay.
And in every contracts we've done, or every area we've been, there's always more negative drill holes than positive drill holes. So we actually adapted the technology to actually perform a little bit better by either using positive drill holes or a mix of the two.
Right.
And that's our secret sauce.
So when you say a negative drill hole, that would be classically referred to as a drill hole that didn't yield any intersection of any target mineral.
Any minerals, yeah.
Right. So those negative drill holes in your data set, though, become the sources of information for sort of stratigraphic identification of different sort of geological events and formations?
Yes, absolutely. Without the negative and the positive drill holes, you can't really use the artificial intelligence to its highest level. Because if you only have negative drill holes, it's difficult to train the engine to actually find positive ones because it has no example of it. But in a negative drill hole, there's a lot of data that's very valuable. It tells the engine, don't go when there's a setting of variables such as the negative drill holes, and then focus on the positive ones.
So I guess the benefit of artificial intelligence applied to these data sets is it's able to extrapolate and more nuanced patterns algorithmically that the human mind and eye couldn't necessarily arrive at just by a cursory look at the data.
Yes, I mean it's now a 15-year-old concept where you want to analyze your data and actually try to extract the good features of it. It just takes a long time to understand the data. Mag is mag, but when you get into the mag or any geophysical data, there's thousands of variables. So as scientists, we need to understand what these variables can do, and when they're mixed between themselves, how do they react, and what really creates copper, silver, and why is the gold hiding in this type of rock versus another type of rock. So it's very valuable.
Interesting. Now, I've heard of another company, or there's some other companies out there that purport to do the same thing. They use data sets to identify drill targets, and they're relatively new. What is what other competitive matrices are out there in terms of this artificial intelligence that might be considered competitive to you?
Well, we've been monitoring the market for the last 15 years, so it's not like there was a lot of competitors. For a long time, we were probably the priests in the desert. And I welcome new competitors because it actually shows to the market that there is value in analyzing the data with science. So it just makes our business case much easier to sell than before. Also, I think that if you look at the oil and gas market, they've been using science for a long, long time. Without that science, these tools, they couldn't find oil and gas. So now I could probably say that I think the mining market is ready to use these kinds of tools to actually now have a better chance of finding new deposit that can go into production. That's very important.
So I find it very interesting that your new business model. Formerly, you did this as a sort of cash for services, typical service industry model, but now you're doing it in such a way that you're earning into a percentage ownership of the asset that you're exploring for.
That's it. So what we feel anyway is that by analyzing the data and looking at the different properties or different owners of these properties, we will have a better view on where the targets could potentially be. Now, the chances of finding the targets with our technology is much higher. So we feel it's around 70%. So there's only 30% margin of error. So if we have a very large region, it'll be much easier for us to how would I say, tune into the right properties and actually go into the property owners and make them a deal where if they're not using it, well, we can actually come up with some financing, finance the drill holes, and acquire a large portion of the assets at the end. And that will create more wealth for Diagnose, for Albert Mining.
Okay, so let's use the 27 discoveries that this technology has already made as an example. What would you say the very grossest estimate is the average value of each deposit?
Well, I want to be clear that when we find targets, sometimes you need to find a lot of them together to actually come up with a deposit. So from the 27 different discoveries we have, probably 3 of them could really be, potentially bigger discoveries. So discoveries that you could probably put in production because they're close to example of an existing plant or something like that.
Okay, so we're talking billion-dollar discoveries?
Well, I can't put the numbers on, but I mean, it would at least be half a billion and more.
Okay, so let's just say that 3 out of 27 worth $500 million, that's 1.5 billion total value. What percentage of that value could you have captured in this new business model?
But we would have captured at least 30 to 40% of it. Where compared to before, we would have we received almost nothing. Cash fee, but that's it.
So it's a much more lucrative model than now that you're actually interested in getting a piece of the action.
Getting a piece of the action, I think, is going to also generate more growth for the company, more employees, and more science will be developed to be more specific. When our engine is very generic, we can actually look for kimberlites, for copper, for silver, for gold. But if we had a lot more resource in terms of cash, we could actually build very specific models for each of these different types of minerals.
So are you analyzing data sets right now?
Yes, we are. I can't tell you where, but yes, we are. We've analyzed some very large ones. The largest we've done was the Plan Nord in Quebec. So we actually analyzed the whole database from the existing camps all the way up to the north. So the Plan Nord for us was a huge program. It took a little bit more than a year to analyze the data. So it's not something that you plug in numbers and you have a number coming out. So the data analysis is very, very long and very tedious. But what we did there is we did all the base metals plus gold and also kimberlites.
Yeah, Albert Mining is kind of undergoing a bit of a renaissance now. You've got new investors, you've got a lot of new investment coming into the company, you've got new management coming into the company. Is it kind of like a new day for Albert Mining?
I think it's a reborn of Albert Mining, or the old Diagnose, if you want. I think with the new investors that are now behind us that believe that the technology can help them identify targets and potential mines, it's important now to actually put the technology to use, and we know it works, and we're very excited.
Sure. How much money's gone into the development of this technology since the beginning?
We actually invested about $4.5 million in actually software development, so the code, the actual programs behind all of this that are actually the heart of the system. So, but for $4.5 million, we're going back to 2003.
Right.
So at today's value, it would probably be at least $10 to $15 million that you would have to invest to actually build a platform like that.
Okay, so let's say I'm a public company owner of a mining company. I've got some great promising ground. I've got lots of historical data. What's my next step to get in touch with you to try your system on my data?
Actually, I will invite everybody to PDAC. We'll have a booth there. Come up to the booth and we'll actually explain to you how this is done. We have 4 steps that has to be done to get to the results. It's very simple to understand, very complex in terms of the software, but the actual workflow is very simple to do. come to the booth or call us, and then we'll be very happy to call you back and give you an estimate.
Okay, Andre. That's a great intro. We'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you after the next discovery and continue the conversation. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, James.
So, there you have it.
So it's
AI, Ed. It's not mining, it's AI. Eh?
AIIM.
AI, eh?
Look, it's been
Old MacDonald had a farm, A-I-A-I-O, and on this farm he discovered a massive copper deposit that was VMS, spanned 45,000 square kilometers, and it was worth $20 billion. A-I-A-I-O.
Pig shit. Turned out to be pig shit. Just saying.
I don't like your attitude, mister. Anyways, so what do you think? Like, now we got, like, oh, you got Gold Spot over here, you've got Albert Mining over here.
Well, interestingly enough,
these guys have 27 discoveries.
Look at the market cap where it was before they've sort of repurposed. Like, they'd say, hey, maybe we're looking at this wrong.
Well,
and so now you bring in this new, and now, hey, we're getting piece of the action. What could this be worth? Could this be capped at 50 million?
Yeah, no, capped.
So what's it capped at now? I don't think there's many shares in this thing. There's 60 million shares.
You know, as per usual, Ed, I buy and then I go do some research. That's how you end up buying low and selling lower. No, in this case, I have done a bit of research. Actually, get this, I interviewed the CEO like back in 2008 or 9 at the Mines and Money event in New York City. At the Marriott Hotel in Times Square.
Did he? Talking about the boy from New York City. The way he talks.
Yeah, okay. Not bad.
All right, okay, well, look at this is one to keep on the radar.
This is one to keep.
You know, I'm thinking maybe I should dip my toe in the water, but it's hard when you could have bought it at 5 cents. It's now at 16.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the chart. What's it doing? Where is it in the Bollinger Band scheme of things? What's the relative strength? Let's look at it from a technical perspective. We've looked at the fundamentals, but now let's look at the technicals.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
AIIM.
AIIM is the symbol.
On the venture.
Yes.
Okay.
Now look at this chart.
Well, there we go. So let's just shrink this up a bit here. Let's put up a 1 month.
1 month. Come on. Touch it, rocker.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay.
So look at, and there's nothing here. There's nothing. All of a sudden, nothing's really changed except the way they're looking at it.
Well, and it's got new investors
and the price. So
it's got new management coming in and a new business model.
I will say this.
On a technology that's had 27 discoveries, Ed.
I will say this: if this stock doesn't drop in the next day or 2 or 3, it's probably going to take another run, another serious run.
Yeah.
It looks like, you know, another day or 2 down in here, and then all of a sudden the buying will come back in.
Yeah.
I got a funny feeling this thing's going to go quite a bit higher. That's what it looks like to me, and
well, full disclosure, I bought so far 200,000 shares.
We got a live audience here waving their hands. I think
I bought 100,000 shares out of the market today by way of full disclosure.
Yeah, I'm going to step in tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah.
Let's step in.
Let's step in.
Let's step it up a notch.
Let's kick it up.
Let's
put some cayenne pepper on this baby.
Let's rock this Casbah.
Hey, how about cayenne pepper?
We'll throw a little tequila on there. And they'll be putting out fire with gasoline.
So I think there's only about 60 million shares. Is that right? Is there about 60 million shares? 70 million? 60?
60 million.
I don't even have to. I'm not even looking at you.
I know. I'm just, the information is out there. You just reach for it. It's like little tidbits of information floating around.
Yeah, no, you know what? The volume's backing right off, and it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
It's waiting for it.
If there was lots of volume today, and you could feel pressure, I don't feel that pressure.
Let's take a look at some of these cannabis stocks, shall we?
All right.
Before we get our studio audience,
but it's, you know what? I will say this, James. You know, maybe a few months ago it was just cannabis, and now you're starting to see.
Well, I would point out the fact, Ed, that you and I have been making little
suggestions,
opportunistic scores in the mining space throughout 2018. I bring you Golden Ridge Resources, no small little score there. I bring you Sokomin Gold.
Well, it moved to.
That was a quick little score.
I stepped in at 50 cents.
Quick score. Eh? Nothing wrong with that. Golden Bear?
Yeah, no.
What about Golden Bear?
Yeah.
Don't forget about the Golden Bear. Never mind. And
I got one coming on. I got an interview coming up next week with a company where the
spit it out, Ed.
The CEO of Golden Bear is on the board of this other company.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, get out.
And they're
what company is this?
ticker is. Jesus. You know, I need to, you know what I need? I need to have some memory pills.
Well, you know, this is why you never see pothead middle-aged guys doing live TV, because they can't keep it together. They just can't remember. But hey, you know what? Thanks to this day and age of authenticity,
yes, sir.
This is cool. You and I just trying to keep it together up
just
here every day.
Just trying to keep the viewers informed.
Now let's talk about cannabis stock. Now let's talk about cannabis stocks. All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. All right then. Hasta luego, muchachos. Let's look at
and just you know, because I always talk about shorting and companies being extended.
Yes.
Never short a small market cap stock.
No.
Because they can go from 10 million to 50 million.
No.
Yes.
They can't.
Yes, they can.
They can?
We saw with Amex.
Oh, yes.
Amex went from basically 3 or 4 million to 50 million.
That's true. And back down again.
Well, you know.
But we think that that could be going in the other direction.
Okay.
All right. So
what do you want to look at? What's on it? Well, let's pick a couple stocks that you've been looking at.
I want to have a quick conversation here about VitalHub.
VitalHub?
VitalHub.
Vitamin Hub, you mean?
No, VitalHub.
Yeah, but that's short for Vitamin Hub.
No. If you don't know, Ed, then you got to go
to the throw.
Dan Matlow is the CEO of VitalHub, and he's been here a few times. But Stats Canada released fourth quarter cannabis survey, and here are the results.
The Statistics Canada fourth quarter survey asked what Canadians 15 years and older have consumed cannabis in the past 3 months, and wait for it, the national average stayed exactly the same at 15%. Consumers were also asked what their top priorities were when they were choosing suppliers of cannabis. Safety and quality ranked the highest, which bodes well for legal producers who are still in competition with a thriving black market. The survey also revealed that 1 in 4 cannabis users used pot for medical reasons only, and 3 in 10 used it medicinally and recreationally. As well, the percentage of daily users dropped from 6% prior to legalization to 5%. In terms of overall sales, there was a slight increase from October to December. Stats Canada showed that the black market still has the edge, though, when it comes to pricing. Statistics Canada estimates put average nationwide prices at around $9.70 per gram for legal products versus $6.51 for black market ones, which is significant given that low price was the second most important factor when it comes to consumers of cannabis in Canada. What could change all these statistics, though, is the introduction of edibles, which is happening in fall of 2019. For Midas Letter, I'm Liz West.
Dan Matlow joins me now, CEO of VitalHub Corp, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol VHI. Dan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again.
Dan, every time we turn around, your stock inches up a little higher, so things are obviously going good.
So far, knock on wood, we're executing on our plan. So we continue to move forward, and the public is starting to get aware of what we're doing. So we're excited.
Yeah, beautiful. And so tell me about this latest acquisition to acquire all the assets of Oak Group that you just announced yesterday.
We're really excited about this one. It's our 5th acquisition, but it's a space that I know really well from my predecessor company, MedWorks. So we knew this company going back just towards the latter days of when MedWorks was sold off at the beginning part of 2016. They were really just getting started in the UK market at that point. But we knew about them, and they've done some interesting things since that period of time. And it's highly explosive opportunity for some organic growth, which is something that we've been looking for out of our acquisition. So our shareholders are going to hear a lot about this acquisitions because they're going to see some really nice things happening.
Okay, what exactly constitutes their assets?
Their assets. So the Oak Group sits in an area which is called the patient flow, and they've developed some really rich IP, thousands of hours of research, of clinical research in terms of understanding patient flow and the appropriateness of care. So one of the biggest barriers that we're seeing in healthcare, and primarily in hospitals, are patients that are residing in beds that shouldn't be in there. It means they're there because the doctors are saying that they're sick and they're acute, and they are, and the doctors have full control, but they might be stable enough to get care in another setting. setting. So a good example is I'm sitting in a hospital at day 2. The Oak Group would, through its clinical criteria, would suggest that that patient is ready for discharge. Yet that patient's still sitting in a hospital till day 7. Those 5 days are what we call avoidable days. Those are costly things to a healthcare authority. They're also not a safe place for that patient to be where they could be discharged, and they're there because of barriers. The barrier could be a physician reason, there's a delay, they could be waiting for long-term care, they could be waiting to get at home, but there's a delay that needs to get knocked down as a barrier to getting that patient home. So that's a costly 5 days. It's average about $1,200 per day for a patient to be in a hospital-based setting. So they're sitting there where they could be at home. What that leads to is what we call hallway medicine. So big announcement coming from the Ford government earlier on in the week, hallway medicine. What's the biggest driver of hallway medicine? Patients that are sitting in a hospital bed that shouldn't be there. They really don't have an understanding of why they're there, and this system will tell them exactly why they're there and allow them to knock down the barriers. So it's really a thought process that they're going to look at very carefully. And that's not just in Ontario, that's international. This product is not in the Canadian marketplace as of yet.
Sure. Patient flow is about operating budgets in healthcare systems efficiently. And so how does that tuck into the other assets of VitalHub and improve the overall offering? Yeah,
all of our offerings, assist in that in some ways, right? But we focus pretty well on meat and potato-based electronic health record-based systems, primarily in the mental health and community care-based business. Oak Group has really extensive clinical criteria that they've done research on mental health patients. And mental health patients are a big reason why our healthcare authority is potentially clogged up. So lots of statistics would suggest that a big backlog in the emergency room is caused by mental health patients that come in that really don't have effective beds to be in there. So if we can use clinical criteria to understand the appropriateness of being in that healthcare setting for mental health patients within hospitals, we think we can help unclog them. We already run most of the EHRs, electronic health records, for most of the hospitals in Ontario and big install bases throughout Canada, and now we got some work going on in Nova Scotia, et cetera. So we think the Oak Group stuff will be really synergistic to that platform.
Mm-hmm. So is the increasing share price an indication of increasing revenue?
Revenue is increasing just based off of the deals that we announced through Nova Scotia, in the January timeframe, and Yukon, and we just started building momentum. So, Nova Scotia is going to be, when we get it rolled out, will be another $2.5 million of recurring revenue. It's going to take us a while to get there, but I think the investor base is starting to recognize that, what that potential is. I don't think the investor base really recognizes what the potential of this Oak Group based acquisition is, because it's really high margin activity that we're getting into. So when we start selling this, we think there's a really good cost return. We also have channels built. So Oak Group has done business in UK. That's where most of their business has been. But they've recently done deals in the Mideast, and as well, they're poking around the Australian marketplace. And we haven't even started the Canadian marketplace, of which we have a great install base to do that. It's also one of those base solutions that we think we can sell through partner channels, mainly the big consulting groups, the Ernst & Young's, which we announced a partnership already with, the PwC's, the McKinseys of this world, that will use this product to do performance reviews, to do a baseline of how hospitals are performing. So we think we can sell this not only operationally, but we can sell it as diagnostics, and diagnostics where the big consulting companies use it to do performance reviews. And we think by introducing it through those performance reviews, they'll lead to software sales and big enterprise deals, and maybe even provincial or government-wide deals. So we plan to take this through the big consulting groups and start doing work not just in Canada, but all through Europe and through the Australian marketplaces.
Okay, so let me ask you, what multiple did you pay for the EBITDA of Oak Group?
EBITDA was an asset purchase, so we didn't announce the EBITDA, but it is a cash flow neutral based organization to date. It only does about $1 million worth of revenue a year, but we feel there's stuff in the pipeline that's going to make that grow already at the Oak Group. So we took that into consideration as well by looking at that pipeline. So we expect some things to materialize in the short period of time from the Oak Group, because we were aware of those things that were going on to do that. So we paid, I don't know, only about 2 times revenue, I think, for the particular, but it's 90% recurring. revenue. So it's all a recurring revenue stream. They monitor 10,000 beds across the UK. So put that into things. UHN, which is Toronto, which I think many of the investors will understand, is an 800-bed facilities. So we're running, and that would be a large-scale based facility, right? So it's running across a lot of the big trusts within the NHS, within the UK marketplace. And it's proven. It's doing its work. It's government sponsored in the NHS. So we think that message will resonate with our Canadian residents, because we're going to bring some international based knowledge into Canada as we're starting to make some changes. And we have the contacts in Canada. We know that space well because we were in that space in a predecessor business. So we really like this acquisition. We think, we like all of them so far, but we like the opportunity this one has for organic growth.
Okay, so you're really, I mean, I'm used to guys sitting here and telling me that we're going to grow through acquisition. I'm not used to guys coming in here every other month and telling me about their latest acquisition, which is actually accretive to the entire business. So good on you for that. What are the big catalysts coming yet in 2019 that are going to continue to pile on value?
We're continuing to look at acquisitions. We've got another vertical on the patient flow side, so we're looking at patient flow based acquisitions, and we continue to work on the other stuff. So we'll keep making acquisitions if they meet our criteria, which is lots of recurring revenue, lots of margin. We think where we can price it effectively, where we think it's synergistic to what we have. We'll keep making those acquisitions if they're opportunistically done. But we've also been looking for the ability to grow organically. So we've already started to organically grow our acquisitions so far. I think Nova Scotia and Yukon are evidence, and we expect to continue to do that in somewhat. But we're really looking for something that could lead to some international explosive growth. So the market's going to start seeing press releases coming from different markets. So Australia, they're going to see press releases where we're using big consulting firms with our product. So we're going to see this. So if Ernst & Young can do an audit in the UK, why can't they do it in Canada? Why can't they do it in Australia? Why can't they do it in Germany? Their healthcare group communicates that they give you access. PwC, McKinsey's, all those guys. So we're going to start working to get them to use this product a lot more. They already have, in some cases, in some ways, but we think we can grow that channel. So they'll start seeing stuff in that regard happen.
Okay, in terms of the competitive landscape for these target acquisitions, is there anybody breathing down your throat everywhere you look to acquire? No, we think we got
a niche at the size that we're doing. We feel that we can do acquisitions on the smaller size, or some of the bigger players won't do, because we feel we can operate the company. So we can see value in those that they can't to do that. We've also recently formed an M&A committee. So we took investment in January, $3.3 million from a group headed by Francis Shen and his brother Tony Shen, and includes some other folks that are part of that. So so we're there to grow that. They formed an M&A committee. Let's see if I can evaluate our deal. So we're starting to see a deal flow, and we're starting to do some things. We have the infrastructure in place now, to do that. We've consolidated everything, so we think we're in a way better position than we were a year ago.
Sure. Okay, so then what are the sort of barriers to your next sort of level of success out there? What do you have to overcome this year?
Yeah, it's we think we have everything in place, but we're already doing a lot of acquisitions, but we'll be careful. We want to absorb. We need to digest. We think we've digested what we've had so far, so we're ready to go on to the Oak Group. But now we got a new challenge. Now our organization has to work internationally. Before it was all Canadian-based stuff, and now our organization is going to have to deal with that. And we got to bring those things. We got to get those acquisitions. We got to work with our technology groups. We have to do all of our development in Colombo, Sri Lanka. So that group has to get on board with some of those things. So we need to go over, and we're crossing the pond. So that's our next challenge in terms of how do we grow internationally, how do we communicate with time zones, how do we integrate with those things. But we think we've put a great management team together, and we're ready for the challenge.
Well, fantastic, Dan. Sounds like you're doing very well. Congratulations on all of that. I'm going to come back to you on your next acquisition.
We'll come on the next acquisition in the market, but we just want to keep updating the market. And, if anyone wants to get questions, I'm always available. But we really like the market to really dig in to understand what the opportunity for Oak Group does, what patient flow means, what the international presence is. Because I don't think the market's been giving us any value of how we can grow. Right. But this thing, I think, can give us that ability.
All right, Dan, we'll come back to you soon. Thanks for joining me today.
Bye-bye.
We're looking at a chart now of VitalHub on the big screen up there, and you can see that they have performed very well throughout. Well, let's see. When did we first start talking to them? I guess it was back in mid-2017, or sorry, 2018 rather. And since then, it's mostly been a growth story. Edward, have you had a chance to look at the performance of VitalHub on a technical basis?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it right now. I can tell you it's had a nice run. It looks like it spiked up a bit there. It's pulled back nicely. We're sort of right at the lower support level. Yeah, I mean, if the fundamentals improve, I suggest that the trend would continue.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that one. We haven't had a chance yet to look at some of the indexes in the cannabis sector, so we're going to do that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the Midas Letter Cannabis indices and start there. So we're looking at now the indexes. They all seem to be having quite a banner day. The large cap index, the index of all of the companies trading above $500 million, up 1.88%.
Maybe we can get those indices on the screen.
Oh, that would be a hell of an idea. You know what? I bet you it's my fault because I haven't pulled up the NDI and oh, let's try that. Yes.
Well, let's see if we can get Control Tower to...
No, it's kind of my fault. Let's go Firefox here. This is where we want to look at the NDI. Look at that, Edward. See? We're driving from
yesterday all red, today all green.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the typical performance of the of all of the indexes. Here a day, up there a day, down here a day, there a day, everywhere a day. Old MacDonald had a farm. A-I-A-I-O. We're just never going to get sick of that one. Anyways, so let's take a look at what the big performers are on the large caps. Obviously, MedMen is taking it on the chin today due to financials that were not that well received by the market. And looks like they still have a lot of work to do before they start transforming that massive sort of retail footprint into a profitable organization. And for that, they continue to be punished. They get the punished.
You know what's had a good run is, well, we had OGI on yesterday.
Yes.
But that stock, it was at, you know, like the volatility is incredible. It was 835 this morning, and it shot up to like 875 in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Well, you know, Organigram is one of those stories that is just going to continue to... you know, I think it's the next contender for mega cap cannabis stock. One of the next ones. There's a few I think that are contenders. One of them's Organigram. One of them's Chiron Holdings. You know, and then I'm looking at some of these smaller ones that are at 4:30 today. There's a conference call with Ventura Cannabis, VCAN, on the CNX, where the new CEO, well, he's been the CEO since the end of 2018, but he's going to lay out some of the things, the initiatives underway.
Did you realize in the 20 minutes we talked about Albert Mining, it's now moved up from 16 cents to 19.5?
Really?
Just like that.
Well, that's because you and I, we're influencers, Ed.
Oh, very much so.
That's a responsibility you got to take seriously. Actually,
are we influence peddlers?
Peddlers? Do we peddle influence? No. That would be, is your opinion for sale? My opinion is not for sale. If I buy the stock and I make you a client, that means I like you and I'm happy to have you as my client and let you pay me.
But somebody's paying attention because the stock is all of a sudden taking on a...
Yeah, well, that's...
building up a head of steam. Okay.
You know, you remember E.F. Hutton? You see those E.F. Hutton commercials? When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. We're like the E.F. Hutton of the cannabis space. Not the Sideshow Bob, the E.F. Hutton. Let's be clear here.
A-I-A-I-O.
Anyways, so going back to our indexes. So here's a chart on Organigram on Midas Letter. Up 1.4% on the day to 846 on 2 million shares traded. So this thing is starting to show, look at those volume indicators down there. They're starting to trade better and better volume. Better volume. I'm going to pull up a chart of OGI in the...
just curious. You said it was 846. I show 842, 843.
Market's still open. That's just...
okay.
That's just, it's a heavily traded stock today, so it's going to tick by tick be bouncing around. Okay, so Let's see here. I've got to make the change in this thing. We're going to get used to this yet, but I've got to change back to Safari to see our organogram holdings chart. Now, Ed, on a technical basis, I look at this chart and what do you see?
And is this organogram? Well, it looks okay. So there's two ways of looking at this. Very powerfully entrenched trend. In other words, there's definitely a trend here. Higher highs, higher lows. Only small negative is that it matches up with a previous high, 6 months ago. I think if you put up a 6-month chart.
Yeah, back here.
I'm not so sure that it's the one. Maybe it is. Yeah,
back in October 18th.
Yeah. And then we got a flag here. Not a flag, but a candle that's somewhat negative today. But that's only on a very short-term basis, right? This is definitely an upward trend. I think as long as all things are sort of moving in the right space, in other words, we don't get another repeat of December, because when December's come along, and they don't come along often, there are no rules.
Right.
But that's, I wouldn't want to step in here. That's just me. I like to step in on a bit of weakness.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to say, hey, viewer, if you're trying to pick and choose here, if you really like this story, why are you buying it now when you could have bought it $3 ago? And
good point.
Yeah, wait for a little correzione, as they say in...
Correzione, as they say in where? Okay, so great. Then let's see what else is going on in this space here. Go back to this guy here, then we go to the NDI. Oh, this is a bit clunky, but we'll get used to it soon. Firefox, look at that. Cannabis indexes. So, in terms of performance on the large caps, let's see who is doing the best. Best performer today is Canopy Growth, up 3.3% towards the end of the day here, $1.99 to $62.16. Really, these large caps have been trading range bound. The global, the green organic Dutchman, T-God, up flirting with $4 again. It's been a while since we've seen it there, isn't it?
Right.
Pull up their chart. Yeah, so T-God has been, since the beginning of the year, it hasn't participated in the steep sort of trajectory that all of the rest of its peer group has, but it's improving. It's improving, and don't forget, this company has almost 300 million shares outstanding.
It does?
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a lightweight.
And you know what's holding you in well here today? We talked about it. Is CANN, which is the
CanTrust, or I mean, Heritage Cannabis Holdings. Yeah.
You tired?
No. I actually...
You excited about PDAC coming in?
PDAC, I'm more or less indifferent. I'm going to be out of the city for most of the PDAC event this year, unfortunately.
Really? But, was that by request of the authority of PDAC?
No. Actually, PDAC's been pursuing our attendance as media. However, it's just we have other fish to fry at this point.
Other fish to fry.
Other fish. Not bigger fish, but other fish. I'm going to be in California visiting at the YouTube studios down there, and that's going to be interesting.
What's your handle going to be on that?
What?
Like your handle.
Handle?
Yeah.
I mean, Midas Letter.
Okay.
That's okay.
Remember Handel? Remember Handel, the classical
Handel?
The composer?
Handel? You listen to the Handel?
Handel.
I listen to the Handel, and it makes me go to sleep. Wasn't he famous for lullabies?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Ed, are you following what's been going on with the federal government in Canada? Justin Trudeau and his...
We touched upon it yesterday. I mean, now they're saying she's making us all up. They're just saying, there's going to be a real, how do we know? How do we know?
Yeah, well, here's the problem, is that you can't have an entity like the Attorney General of Canada, and first you say, look, you change the decision, you override the prosecutorial office's decision to defer or to pass on a deferred prosecution and proceed to a trial, or we're going to demote you. And then she doesn't, and boom, she's demoted to Veterans Affairs. And then Justin Trudeau steps out in front of the microphone and says, you know, we're doing this for the 6,000 jobs at S&C Lavalin. Well, you know, 6,000 jobs, I mean, that's a good number, but it's not, you know, it doesn't justify subordinating the rule of law.
Trudeau might own some stock in SNC, maybe? He's trying to...
Well, that would be, you know, this is why I'm writing a piece right now proposing that the S&C Lavalin case could become Canada's Operation Car Wash. Operation Car Wash is the Brazilian still ongoing investigation that has resulted in 3 toppled governments, 263 individuals under investigation, 16 convictions so far. And it just keeps, it's the investigative gift that keeps on giving. So now that we've scratched the surface of this little, you know, relationship between the Trudeau government and certain corporations, let's scratch a little harder. I mean, I don't see how the RCMP could preserve credibility and not open an investigation as to the criminality of what has happened by the Liberal government in Canada in its effort to subjugate the rule of law to its own economic interest. And I think that's where we're going.
Do you smell a rat?
I smell something really foul. Yes.
Yeah. Something's rotten in Denmark.
Something's rotten in Ottawa. Anyways, it's a temporary phenomenon, though, which is great.
Because the election's coming up soon, and we can just watch them.
Why wait till an election when you can have a nice trial today?
Trial?
A trial. I was wondering if I was doing some research to see if there had ever been an impeachment in Canada, and while theoretically possible, it has never actually happened and extremely unlikely to unfold. So look at that. MedMen's back below $4, down 33 cents today. Obviously, the market not really digging what was, you know, sort of conveyed in rosy circumstances by the news release yesterday issued by MedMen.
And you know, revenues are great in a new industry, nascent industry.
Revenues are fun.
But you got to start making money, because if you keep losing money, you're going to have to raise more money.
Well,
and so it's dilutive.
That's just it. People get too caught up on what's the revenue number, and if a company can generate revenue but has to spend CapEx, equity financing, to generate revenue, and there's no profit, this is a business on the road to ruin. It's on the road to ruin. And as so cliche that it's even Hollywood doesn't use it anymore, the road to ruin is paved with good intentions.
I like to say it another way.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I'd like to say it another way.
The road to... What are you going to say, Ed?
Hades.
The road to Hades.
Yeah, that's like hell.
That's a huge differential. Aurora was over $10 earlier today. Did you notice that?
No longer.
Well, it's $9.92.
And you know what else I've noticed?
What's that?
That the S&P is starting to have, you know, it's 2784. It had the one day where it blasted over 2800, but it couldn't hold it. Mm-hmm. And here we are now. Yeah. Look, let's put up the chart. I mean, what the hell? That's what we're here for. There's a 3-month chart, and this is the S&P. This is the big thing that everybody watches. Not us, of course, because we're in a different world.
I watch the S&P.
But look at. See, there's a trend. Now, I'm drawing that line straight because I want to show that the trend
is weakening.
Well, it's rolling. It's rolling. So now you've got this in here. So it's deviating from that basic trend. After that move, which is one of the biggest moves we've had in a very short period of time, even though it was a counter move to a waterfall move in December. Yeah, I think the next move could be, you know, we could be starting to roll over a bit because we're still getting lots of companies warned. There's a lot of conflicting news, you know. Anyway. So we'll let our viewers chew on that.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to have a chat with Richard Goldstein in a minute from Canntab Therapeutics.
Okay.
Canntab Therapeutics Ltd is a Canadian cannabis oral dosage formulation company based in Markham, Ontario. The company is focused on the research and development of advanced pharmaceutical-grade formulations of cannabinoids. Canntab has developed precision oral dose products that are unavailable elsewhere in the marketplace. Their primary focus is on providing cannabis-based products to medical professionals that can be used to deliver therapeutic treatments to their patients. Canntab trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the ticker symbol PILL.
I'm joined now by Richard Goldstein, CFO of Canntab Therapeutics, trading on the CSE under the symbol PILL. Richard, welcome back.
Thank you.
Richard, I have experimented with some pills. I'm not going to say where I got them from, but I actually have been in the U.S. and experimenting with edibles and all of these different things. And
sure.
They're having an effect on my brain. No, but seriously, the world of pills, as it pertains to cannabinoids, they're available currently as medical products?
They're not available yet because they haven't received Health Canada approval. We're still at a level right now where all you're getting is bud or oil made from bud, and that oil can be essentially delivered either as a tincture in a jar with a dropper, or in a gel cap or soft capsule, soft gel cap, that kind of thing.
Right.
Pills would be the next generation, we believe. And
sure. And what's the timeline for that?
Well, we got to get Health Canada approval, and so the good news is we do have a facility, actually two facilities, one that we're building out long-term at FSD, announced a long time ago, and then a short-term space that's an R&D facility within their current approved facility, and that will allow us to essentially start to create not only capsules for sale for FSD and for ourselves, but more importantly to finally get our suite of hard-coated tablets ranging from anywhere from an instant release to an extended release to a flash melt, so a whole host of varieties of delivery mechanisms, all fundamentally from an oral dose tablet perspective.
Sure. In the recreational context, would you be able to sell something that does not make health claims that is in a pill form?
Well, in places where it's approved, again, in Canada, we will be able to sell to a recreational marketplace once the pill itself is approved as an oral dose delivery method. We could certainly be in the United States right now and doing that, but truthfully, the rec market really isn't our marketplace. 10 milligrams is the maximum amount of THC that you can put into a tablet or into a capsule set by Health Canada. And the reality is 10 milligrams is good. It's a good dose. It's a medical dose. Yeah. It's not a recreational.
Right. Well, so I mean, as a recreational person, 10 milligrams makes me very antisocial.
Really?
Yes. I'm a lightweight. What can I say?
Okay, well, I can tell you that people, to get really high, if you're a regular user, you're probably looking at needing somewhere in the 40 to 50 milligrams, which you could do. I mean, you want to take 4 or 5 pills. It might be a little bit expensive. But if your budget is big, please, go ahead and buy our tablets when they're available. But you're not our marketplace.
Right. So the pill format is more or less a way to very precisely deliver dosages in a quickly uptakeable manner, assuming that the active ingredients have been sort of bioactivated, and so the target really is a medical audience.
It is. I mean, doctors today are still a little bit hesitant to recommend and to prescribe cannabis as a medical solution for people. Many of the doctors that we spoke of really what they want at the end of the day is they want to be able to titrate. Titrating is how you start in the way of a dose and how you build up that dose based on individual needs of a particular patient. So we start off at a 2.5 milligram. I mean, a 2.5 milligram would probably not necessarily even get a large rodent stoned or whatever, but it's a great starting point. If you're a senior, 70, 80, 90 years old, many of whom are using cannabis now medically for the first time, you don't want to get stoned. You want to just understand how this thing works. You start slow, 2.5 milligram, 5 milligram, and then we cap out at 10 milligram on the THC side. On the CBD side, there is not the same regulations as to how much, and in that case, we do believe more is better from a dose perspective, and so we envision actually a tablet that is a combination of THC and CBD, both using instant release and extended release capabilities.
Interesting. So Health Canada has said that October 17th, 2019, we're going to start to see edibles and beverages available. We don't have any clarity on what exactly that entails. But at the end of the day, for Canntab, what's the difference between a pill and a candy?
Right. Well, a pill is not a candy that that's sweet and tasty and appeals to children and so on and so forth. I mean, a pill is a pill. It's like an aspirin. It looks the same, just as easy to take, and it is medicine. But your point is well taken, because at the end of the day, with people, where we go out and speak on the occasion, or we're asked, well, when's the day Health Canada gives you the okie dokie? And the reality is, October 17th, there's no way that they're going to allow a gummy bear or a chocolate or some form of other edible to be consumed ahead of a Canntab tablet. So
right.
I guess the end date for us, the worst date, is October, but we'd like to see approval come certainly ahead of edibles and get going into the marketplace.
Yeah. When Health Canada approves your edible tablets, will you then seek certification in the United States and Europe?
Well, in the United States, it's still illegal federally. It's certainly something that we can submit to FDA. We have filed patents, though, in Canada and the United States. So to the extent that those are awarded, we will be, or at least our intellectual property will be really safe at that point. So the United States is a possibility. But I'll tell you, one of the jurisdictions that's massive in the world today is Mexico. Mexico is a great marketplace. Many people, think that's where the weed comes from, right? Or used to come from Acapulco Gold or whatever. But the reality is there's a large medical user base in Mexico, and it's our understanding that upon Health Canada approval, we would essentially just have to file with the government and the approval, obviously listing all the contents, and everything inside this tablet, by the way, is all approved excipients by Health Canada. And with that approval, we should be able to distribute in Mexico alongside a long-time 20-year business partner of my co-founder, Jeff Renwick, who is also our CEO.
Oh, okay. So you've already got a distribution channel in Mexico.
We have a large distribution channel in Mexico ready to go. But again, we're going to need Health Canada's approval on this, because we have to export. We want to make everything out of Coburg at FSD and then export internationally. Real estate really isn't something we need to do. We don't need to build factories. We can service the world out of one facility.
So will you have to do like patient trials?
Well, you don't have to do patient trials yet, because we're not making any claims. Right now, the government has approved cannabis, as I mentioned, in oil and in bud form as a methodology or as a medication, if you will, for people without laying claims. So there's no reason why you can't just take a tablet without a clinical trial and without laying claims. Having said that, we recently announced a clinical trial that we hope to get approved at the University of British Columbia. A well-known orthopedic surgeon, not just in Canada, but internationally, and certainly within North America, Dr. Donald Garbuz is the lead investigator that we've engaged. We have submitted a whole request to the ethics committee, because you have to get ethics committee. You're using this on humans, and it hasn't been approved. But the reality is, this test is going to hopefully demonstrate that we have a formulation that we can lay claim to, along the lines that you say, to basically take people that are gone through post-operative knee replacement surgery and who are traditionally given essentially 60 oxycodone prescription to manage their pain over the course of several weeks to several months, depending on how the surgery went and how the individual responded to that surgery. What we're hopeful for is that Canntab has a formulation consisting of actually a combination of immediate release THC. So you get that 15 to 20 minutes, you start to feel the drug kick in, and then an 18-hour release of 50 milligrams of CBD alongside some other terpenes and flavonoids, which are smaller parts of the plant but have very good benefits when you're starting to look at an indication. And we do that in a bi-layer tablet, so it's a 2-layer tablet, half being the THC, the other half being the CBD. And according to Dr. Garbuz, any reduction in opioid use with a Canntab tablet would be considered a very big win.
Sure. So that leads me to my next question. I mean, the whole idea of tablets to replace, for example, methadone in the treatment of addicts strikes me as an obvious product pursuit for, the whole cannabis product suite. So how likely is that to happen, and what would be the timeline on that?
Money and time is really all it takes. Anything can be clinically tested. Our own tests will probably encompass approximately 200 individuals, and you could do something along the lines with methadone. I'm not a scientist. I'm just the son of a pharmacist, if you will. But Jeff Renwick, obviously, and our lead research guy, Joshi Laxabanarian, he's quite the genius, and he'd be the one to figure out whether it was something that we would want to entertain. But I can also tell you, outside of opioid use and painkiller, we do believe we have formulations both for sleep. We think we have one nailed for irritable bowel syndrome, which is a disaster of a disease, colitis, ileitis, Crohn's, crippling people, literally, and we think we have something. So all those are going to take time and money, but the most important thing for Canntab now is we want to move from an R&D company. We have a product that's commercially ready to go, subject to approval. Let's go out there, let's start generating some real revenue, let's show the marketplace that we are a real company, and then we believe a path to further clinical trials will be laid out for us.
Right. I haven't heard of anybody else doing these types of things in Canada. I know there's a couple in the United States because I've sampled some of their products, but are there a lot of companies doing this? Is the competitive landscape crowded, is my point? I
don't think it's crowded. When we first started, which was, probably over 3 years ago, that was very limited. People can press tablets just through force and the machinery. So you could actually take just bud has been crumbled into such a small particle and then squeeze it together hard enough to be able to sell a pill. But that's not real pharma. We make in a GMP facility a true pharma product. The instant release, probably easier for somebody else to come into the marketplace with a proper product out there. The extended release, nowhere near as easy. This is a product that lasts 18 hours. It is essentially put through your system and delivered with what's called a Cmax, the high point, at around the 12-hour period. So this is something that can give you essentially all day or all night relief.
Okay. What are the big major upcoming catalysts in 2019 that investors are going to be looking out for?
Well, in 2019, for sure, you can expect revenue from us. At a minimum, our first revenue will be generated out of oil capsules, both THC and CBD, with FSD. By chance, and this is a fluke, and you'll admit it's a fluke, we did announce today in a press release, FSD did as well, world-class extractions. The three of us have got together and did a 5-year long-term deal for a hemp supply, an organic hemp supply from a gentleman by the name of Thomas Elcombe and a handful of his friends and family. And they're growers here in Ontario, have been farmers essentially for several generations. And with their hemp, we will create CBD oil, and from the CBD oil, we'll create medicine.
Wow. So FSD is going to source the hemp, world-class extraction is going to extract it, you're going to put it into pill form.
And add value added, exactly. And we're all going to do it together inside Coburg facility at FSD's home.
Wow. A virtuous circle. All right. Richard, we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in due course.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate you having me.
You bet. And have you tried any of the Cantabs, Ed?
No.
They are color-coded for different quantities of CBD and THC. They don't actually have any that are available on the market yet because they're not legal. But I love that idea. You know,
yes,
a product line, here's 5 products. Each color, different outcome.
Right.
High THC, low CBD, medium THC, medium C, like it's just so easy. It's
so that's why they color ice cream, right? Like, so if it's sort of chocolate colored, you know it's chocolate. If it's strawberry colored, it's sort of strawberry, so you don't have to guess. Same thing, right?
Okay. All right. Then clearly we don't have anybody writing jokes today.
What are you implying? So what are you thinking here?
I'm going to take, you know what I'm going to do? Let's go look at the CSE index page because the group gathered in our chat room. So Afinor Growers is a Force Center. We won't look at that. Fincana, you know, 14 cents. Yeah. Health Space Data Systems, Lifestyle delivery systems. All these companies are up a little. Oh, yes,
What's
of
going
course. Well, you know, there's this thing is that now we can drive the NDI, but we have to change it ourselves manually. If it doesn't materialize on the screen. Oh, well, there's yours. There's mine. Look at. Okay, so this is the Midas Letter CSE index. These are all the cannabis companies that are trading on the Canadian Securities Exchange. And so, best performer today, Afnor, 4 cents, going up a penny. That doesn't really count as a. So let's start at something that has a decent market cap. Well, Lifestyle Delivery Systems put on a nickel today, 10.71%. That's down from last year's high up in the 70s and 80s. Planet 13, remember the great promise of Planet 13, which is one of the Origin House holdings, was up at $3 earlier last year, and now down in the $1.89. Still sort of hanging on, added 15 cents today, up 8.62%. Maybe there's some new stuff happening. Let's take a look at their page.
You get the sense that a lot of the smaller ones, the good ones, are catching a bid. We saw it with CXXI a couple weeks ago. Had a big move. Well, plant, yeah, that's up nicely. Heritage Cannabis, look at this.
Yeah.
Launches Bright Life Sciences Limited. There's news right there.
High Hampton's back up 40 cents. Woo! Cannex, $1.74. What? Okay, I want to look at this chart, Ed. So Cannex, we've been look at this chart.
Which one?
Look at that. Does that look like fun to you?
Wow.
Fee fi fo, fun for me, fun for you. Yeah, fun for me. That's a nice move.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on there? Well, let's see what happens in the press releases. Forefront Holdings. Okay, so here's a press release from earlier this week. Forefront Holdings recently announced it closed the acquisition to expand its national presence in Massachusetts and Arizona. Okay, Cannex and Forefront have signed a binding letter of intent pursuant to which Forefront has agreed to combine with Cannex in an all-stock transaction. So that seems to be coming closer to a close. And check this out. A company called Market Research, Brightfield Group. Okay, this is fake news. Never mind. But anyways, so there's Cannex. Let's see. Who is the worst performer on the CSE today? Look at Koyos Beverages. So this
Excuse me.
I got.
Sorry about that.
I don't know how many notes from people saying I should be buying Koyos Beverage based on that press release about the Walmart stores, because today it's going to add on another 100%. As soon as I start getting those from everybody, I'm like, no. You're not going to catch this guy.
So when it went up 90%, wasn't
well,
it?
but that was the day of the press release. So like, here's the problem.
What's the ticker?
The KBEV, KBEV. Here's the problem I have with that press release. A little company like Koyos Beverages announces a all-encompassing deal like that with to supply Walmart stores. Huh? That just doesn't make sense to me. And yet the bigger entities like Canopy and Aurora, they wouldn't go to those guys first. Huh?
Look at this thing. This thing hit 93 cents yesterday.
KBEV.
And back to 67 cents today.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, see, so that's just it. That kind of a lift on that kind of a press release from that sort of a company makes me like not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Look at the volume. Look at the volume increase here. We got 20 million shares yesterday, or 24 million shares, or 20 whatever, 13 million today. Nowhere near the volume. But you know, maybe there's a lot more shares in this thing now than there was six months
shares
ago.
Out 58 million.
Well, that's not that many.
No. So that's why it can move like that. But so I imagine what happened is a bunch of these touts jumped in, and then they started talking to us so that we would tout it on our show. But here's the tout. Stay away until we see how real this deal is with
real
with
deal
Walmart.
Or
well, I want to see some kind of a statement from Walmart. Like why is there no quote from any Walmart people in the press release?
I don't think the press the group at Walmart that's writing press releases is sitting on there right now trying to word it properly.
Well, but normally if you want to release a press release involving a global brand like that, and you're a tiny little company, you're not going to do it unless you get a quote from somebody at the company you're announcing the deal with.
No quote?
It's like you don't expect like a little mining company to say, oh yeah, we just signed a deal with Goldcorp, and there's no quote or acknowledgement from Goldcorp.
Right.
No, it's quite the opposite. Goldcorp is going to put out a simultaneous press release because, especially in the mining industry where people are very sensitive to, you know, the potential for a truth getting in the way of a good story, people, you know, it's like you don't bother putting out a press release. That in the cannabis space, you know, here's the evidence of why this will not be happening in the future. You won't get this reaction because these companies are going to come out and start making these press releases, and, you know, are they actual follow through? Like, where's the follow through? Like, it doesn't make sense. Funds should be buying Koyos beverages. Koyos.
Well,
purchase order with Walmart. See, okay, so here's the thing. The headline, Koyos secures purchase order to supply 1,094 locations. And then in the first paragraph, it says, pleased to announce it had signed a vendor agreement. Well, which is it? A vendor agreement or a purchase order? A purchase order is typically a dollar amount for a fixed quantity of a product. This does not go on to describe a purchase order. So, again, I am going to withhold judgment on this whole transaction. I'm not going to be a buyer, and I want to see some more, you know, substance.
Evidence.
Yeah, give me more evidence. So, who is the fellow we had on the show here from Koyos last week? Koyos,
the CEO.
Yeah, he was here. So, let's get him on the show again. I think I'm not getting any feedback from God here. Anyways, sorry. Anyways, so
yeah, well,
that's Koyos.
But still, if you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents, you could have punted at 90 cents.
And exactly, if you were that lucky to buy it at the low and sell it at the high, then I would like you to call me, please, because I'd like to stand next to you in a rainstorm. You know, that's, you know, some people might have bought in and unloaded it on the way up. I don't see too many people.
Well, it traded 23 million shares.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's my point. So there's traders in there, but there's no investors. Who else traded on the CSX? Well, MedMen, down 7.89%, lost a total of 34 cents today on yesterday's financials. Obviously, not well received. THC Biomed lost 7.37%, down to 44 cents. BAM! Body and Mind down 7.25%. Yeah. Despite the market being generally up. Let's see what we've got in the way of larger cap companies.
You mean today the market was up?
Yeah. All the cannabis indexes are up today.
Oh, yeah.
So Ventura Cannabis and Wellness completed its rollback, as can be seen in the stock. It's now trading at 68 cents, up 2 cents. So let me just see now. 68 divided by 7.3. This is the exercise that has to be undertaken. Clear 63 divided by.
Is it Valens that's been having a big move?
Yeah.
What's the ticker there? V.
8.6 cents is the equivalent. So, yeah. Valens Grow is VGW.
Well, you sort of have these symbols just right there, don't you?
Well, the ones that I've spent a lot of time looking at, yes. Others, you know, like what's the symbol of Barrick? I couldn't tell you. Oh, it's ABX. Never mind. What's the symbol of? Give me a. Let's name that symbol, Ed.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
You want me to go first?
Yeah. ABC.
ABC.
Alphabet.
Yeah, okay, good one. Okay, give me the symbol for, I'll make it easy on you, Village Farms.
VF. Limited. L.
BFF. Close.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Close.
Okay, my turn.
Okay.
What is the ticker for Valence Growth Works Corp.
VGW, what? Are you trying to make it easy on me here, Ed?
Well, I want you to pass. I want you to pass.
Okay, what's the symbol for 1933 Industries? I can tell you this.
1933.
I can tell you this without looking.
1933.
Nope, TGIF.
Right. Without even looking, you got that. You nailed it.
Well, actually, I knew that because I had shares in TGIF, and then when it became 1933 Industries, I was like, what? Where'd my TGIF shares go? What's this 1933 Industries in my portfolio? And then I was like, oh, they changed the symbol and the name of the company.
What's the new symbol for Boulevard?
BCAN, B-C-A-N.
How's that doing?
It just looked at it. It's actually, it says up 2 cents, but I guess it did close down, but so it closed at 63 cents.
Oh, is it
divided by 7.3 because that was the rollback. So it's actually
is that what you were just doing?
8.6 cents. So it's still up. I bought it at an average price with fees of 6.9 cents. So up a bit, but the position's a lot smaller. You know
who passed away?
Who?
Ed Godden. He was a sort of a guy on Bay Street for years and years. He had that one deal.
Eddie?
Yeah.
Eddie, who used to sit down at the keg on the patio?
Had no problem with libation.
Right. Oh, did he?
He passed away yesterday.
No kidding.
And apparently somebody was out with him that night, and he went home and he succumbed to the.
Well, that's R.I.P. Eddie Godden. I didn't know him well, but I don't.
I know he was involved with that deal that they had the big land position in Scandinavia. Remember?
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And they raised a bunch of money, and he never spent the money. He just kept sitting on it and
sitting at the bar.
Trying to. Yeah.
I didn't know Eddie that well.
Wow.
All right. You know what's coming up tomorrow, Ed? You know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow's Friday. Guy Chamberlain's going to be here from Tetro Biopharma.
Are you going to be here?
Brian Athade, most importantly, Brian Athade, the CEO of the Green Organic Dutchman, is going to be here.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, and look at the stock's already on a run to the upside just in anticipation of his performance here at Midas Letter RAW.
Let's put up the picture of the outside because yesterday it was.
Yeah, let's see what it's looking like outside.
What's it look like out there? Come on.
A nice afternoon.
It looks clear.
Clouds moving in.
Look at this.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Clouds moving in, though. I mean, it is getting a little cloudier. It's supposed to be snowing again tomorrow.
Apparently, it's going to get darker later on, too.
And I hear spring is coming.
I hear it's going to get darker later on.
Oh, look. The camera's out of control. We're shifting down to that. There's Bay Street.
Yeah.
Still a lot of snow on the ground.
Do you know that?
People coming, people going from the big city. Bay Street's the main artery. Whoa!
Yeah, let's...
Oh, there we are, looking at the pillar. Oh, boy.
There's a new book out, The Third Pillar. Apparently, it's getting lots of rave reviews. Business book.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Look at this. Afria, 1364.
Athria is 13, up 27 cents today. See, now this is...
2%.
The word on the street is that the Saruyas are going to put that Afria into high gear.
Is that right?
Yes, that's what I've heard from numerous sources out there. Look at Canopy Growth, up $2.21 at this point.
Yeah, $2 on 62 isn't exactly like $2 on 6.
Well, you know, if the price of gold goes up $2, it just about stop the streets and throw a parade.
CanTrust down 3 cents.
Yeah.
Kronos,
like do you get the sense it's getting a little quiet in the cannabis space? Like, haven't had any big
I'm looking at a lot of charts here. I'm seeing a little bit of rollover, bit of rollover. We've had big moves. CNNX up 17 cents to $1.74.
Yeah.
What's your favorite small one, you think? And you can't say Chiron right now because Chiron is into that, $300 million market cap.
Like, you're not allowed to say Chiron?
Well, say you can say Chiron, but I want something that's in the $20 to $50 million category.
$20 to $50 million.
Soyuz?
Soyuz, potentially, yes. Potentially, yes.
Because the market cap's low and they're going to get fast-tracked for...
Yeah, there's...
Can we even say that? I mean...
Well, we don't know that. I mean, the company is... the biggest shareholder is First Nations, the Soyuz Band. Technically, we know there is a program called the Navigator Program that First Nations cannabis companies jump to the front of the line in the licensing queue and have access to a capital pool.
And they don't pay tax, so that's even another bonus.
The tax savings are, you know, ultimately result in a lower cost of sales for them. So yeah, that's one of them. I'm really at, well, VCAN there. Actually, you know what, Ed? It's time to go. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow.